Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy Sister, and today in the Artsy Sister Talk Show, I'm going to be talking about Don Quixote de la Mancha, or more specifically, all of the painting fan arts that were made after this book, Don Quixote in like art history. Like the book of Don Quixote was published in 1605 and it became an international bestseller. It is one of the earliest books that it gets translated to as many languages as the Bible back in the 1600s. And over here in the front cover, you see one of the earliest arts related to it. You know, it's like the fancy shield. It has an eagle and like the lion and stuff. And then like basically Don Quixote was the first genre parody, or one of the earliest ones in recent one of the earliest one. And it's basically the story of an old guy. Well, they call him old, but was 40 years old, and that was considered old back in the day. And then he sold part of his land in order to like buy a bunch of night books, and then he liked night books so much that one day he went into his old storage bin and he got out his ancestors' knight armor, and then he put it on, and then he got himself a horse, and then he went to play knight. So you could almost consider Don Quixote to be the first book about about a cosplayer going on, like about a cosplayer and people acting like he's completely out of his mind because cosplay wasn't a thing in the 60 in like the 1600s, because nobody would like dress up and pretend to be their favorite characters from books or plays. So then Don Quixote, he started a trend, and he even conned like one of the local villagers into becoming his squire, because every night needs a squire to help him like put on the armor and stuff and like travel, and that way he's not like ranting to himself all of the time. But this comedy book is both for the realist Sancho Panza and the idealist Don Quixote playing off of each other. And then as the book progresses, Don Quixote becomes more like Sancho Panza, and Sancho Panza becomes more like Don Quixote. So yeah, it's like a funny genre spoof, and so much so that that people are still making Don Quixote fan arts all the way up to modern time. But for now, let's look at some of the earlier stuff. This is a tapestry by an unknown artist, and it was commissioned by Francis Peons, and it's 1674, and it's a Don Quixote quilt, and you can tell that it's Don Quixote because over here in like the middle, here's Don Quixote fighting a windmill, and that was one of his most infamous insanities, hilarity that he did in the scene, that he attacked a windmill, saying that it was a giant, and and the windmill almost killed him and his horse, and it was just a very funny thing. And then the donkey over here is Sancho Panza, his squire, and then over here shows other references to his battles and stuff. It's a very nice, fancy fan art of Don Quixote. So if you see a knight in shiny armor attacking a windmill, then you know that is a Don Quixote reference. And the next painting in 1710 is Don Quixote set with the appearance of a beard of the Countess Trifaldi. And then here we are, they brought him a fancy contest, but it was messy. But it was a guy. It was a guy in drags, messing with just a bunch of noblemen. I think that was in the Don Quixote sequel. I forget. where he goes to like mess around in a whatchamacallit, in a noble household, and then it's just a bunch of rich people having a laugh out of somebody that considers a lunatic. But the joke being is that Don Quixote playing knight, he ended up conning a bunch of idiots into giving him the knight treatment, and he got to stay in a fancy castle and like eat fancy feasts and like fool around with the noblemen. While if he was just himself, he wouldn't have been able to like brush shoulders with the aristocracy. So by playing pretend and acting as a knight, he got other idiots to go along, other people to like go along with his game, which is fun. Like he acts crazy, but who got the last laugh in the end? Oh, yeah, and then over here you see the main in the foreground, just Don Quixote reacting to the countess that's supposedly enchanted, that she has like a beer and stuff. And then like, oh my god, and then like and then like the other noblemen are laughing, ah, look at that idiot. He fell for a prank, Here the main nobleman having a laugh at his expense. This one is 177. Oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, this fan art was done by Charles Antoine Coypen in 1710. And this one is 1770. Don Quixote disputing with the mad Cardenio. And by Francis Heyman. Like Cardenio was a character that he went to go that he went to play, that he became like a mad hermit in the forest because he wasn't able to marry the woman that he liked. So then his life was over. So then it's just him talking to him, and then after speaking with him, Don Quixote brings it up, gets the fancy idea that maybe he should also be a crazy person in the woods because he's suffering because of Dulcinea's disdain. So not only does Don Quixote express his madness onto others, he sometimes adopts the themes of like other people, more specifically the Mar Cardenio. But then as you speak to them, you notice that they're not really crazy. They just noblemen or rich farmers with too much time on their hands, or that are just trying to cope with like soul crushing reality of the mundane. And this one, 1854, by Johann Seckler, is Don Quixote attacking a bunch of sheep, while over here and then back here Sancho Panza is staring and said, "No, no, those sheep are not monsters. Those sheep don't go butcher the sheep." And then over here the farmers getting like their slingshots in order to try to defend their sheep. So then here you had that thing. Yes, oh my God, stop! Like a lot of the jokes, they have a similar set. Don Quixote sees a sheep or a windmill, and then he be like, "I'm gonna go attack it with my spear." Sancho Panza be like, "No, you lunatic! It's not those are not demons, those are a sheep, or that's a windmill." And then that's usually the setup of most joke, and then hilarity ensues. This one is 1855, Don Quixote and Sancho Panza having a rest under a tree, by Honores Dalmir. And it's a very quiet depiction of Don Quixote and his choir, because normally they're like in the middle of doing a great adventure, and it's just them enjoying the mandatory Spanish siesta. Because you can be a crazy cosplayer in like the 1600s, but you gotta like enjoy your siesta. Not that I'm saying that like cosplayers are nuts. What I'm saying is that a cosplayer was considered insane in the 1600s because the people back then didn't have a concept of cosplaying was a new concept. So you're dressing up as your favorite character. Like people would look at you funny back in the day if you did that back then. This is 1860 Cesare Auguste by no, it's Don Quixote by Cesare Auguste Detti, 1860, and then it's Sancho Panza pointing forward while talking with Don Quixote. And more specifically, this scene is Don Quixote told Sancho Panza to go talk to Dulcinea and tell her that what a great knight he was. But since Don Quixote didn't told Sancho Panza the idealized version of his lady Princess Dulcinea, naturally Sancho Panza wasn't able to find the woman that existed only in Don Quixote's mind. So then Sancho Panza, he pointed to that random village woman, and then he used it, and then he told, look, there goes Dulcinea. And then Don Quixote be like, I know what the love of my life looks like, and that's not Dulcinea. And then he be like, no, just yeah, she's enchanted, and only I can see to the enchantment. Trust me, it's her. And then he goes on a rant about what he sees. So then it's an example of Sancho Panza going on a hallucinogenic Don Quixote rant, trying to use his master's delusion against him because it was too much of a trouble to find Dulcinea. So then he'd be like, oh, there goes Dulcinea. That's totally her 100%. And then like Don Quixote be like, really? So then it's Don Quixote being a skeptic. But that doesn't happen in book 2 of Don Quixote. The book Don Quixote is also like the first time when they did an unauthorized sequel of a story. So then Cervantes be like, I didn't authorize the sequel to my book. So then he wrote the second part of Don Quixote, where he kills spoiler alerts, where he kills the character Don Quixote in the end. That way they're not able to write Don Quixote 3 without his permission. That he finished the Don Quixote character or story definitively in the second part of the Don Quixote book. Well, that's not important. Here they have them looking at imaginary Dulcinea. Here's 1863 Don Quixote by Gustave Dore. Like this illustrator Gustave Dore is one of the persons that did the most fan arts of Don Quixote. Like, this is just me showing you one scene, but Gustave Dore made 120 fan arts of Don Quixote. Just literally, practically, almost like all of the scenes that show up in the book. You could almost get like an illustrated version of the book Don Quixote with Gustave Dore drawings that go beat for beat with the story. And over here, Don Quixote, he's on video while looking at his armor, because that's something that knights did while they were, in preparation as part of the ritual before ascending to knighthood, because he hadn't become the knight Don Quixote yet. He still had to go through like the rituals and get appointed as the knight, as somebody's knight in their service. So then he becomes the knight or the innkeeper after he finishes all the ritual. And then the innkeeper tells him the very important advice that that you need to pay for the inn. And then but Don Quixote be like, but in none of the night books that I read, the knights stay at the inn for free. And then he'd be like, no, the writer just didn't bother to tell the nonsense about money, because it stands to reason that that a person has to do their bare necessities, but the writer's not gonna put it because nobody wants to stop the action every time the character has to go like take a pee or something. But it stands to reason that since knights are beings of flesh and blood, they gotta take care of the business. And the long and short of it is pay for the inn, you cheap bastard. But Don Quixote, by playing knight, he got to like stay in the inn without paying any actual money for it, and even stand vision and all of the other stuff. This one is 1875, Don Quixote View from the Back by Paul Cézanne. Like, I guess it's just like a weird painting. It's not so much you seeing Don Quixote, but a bunch of people reacted to Don Quixote as he passes by, and people being like shocked about him. And this guy in the middle with like the donkey and stuff, it could be a reference to Sancho Panza, who's always looking at the back of his master while thinking sad thoughts. There goes that lunatic again. Well, the real joke being is that Sancho Panza became his squire with the promise that he was gonna make him a governor. And spoiler alert, in the sequel to in like Don Quixote 2, Don Quixote manages to fulfill that promise, and Sancho Panza does become a governor, and a good one at that, which is hilarious. Him using all of the knowledge and things that he learned by observing his masters, Don Quixote. This is not, we're already like in the 20th century, 1900, Don Quixote by Albrecht Blush. So then here we had like Sancho Panza with a donkey and Don Quixote passing by with like his fancy spear and stuff. Whenever you see a very skinny old knight, that's your Don Quixote right there. This one is 1910 Don Quixote by Jose Guadalupe Posada. And it's interesting. Here's a drawing of Don Quixote like a skeleton, like chasing after like a bunch of stuff, just skewering them with a spear. And this is the version of Don Quixote or La Santa Muerte. The version of Don Quixote was so famous that it eventually in 2005 it got minted into a coin. So that's fun. So yeah, if you had this coin over here, well, over here it even says it, Don Quixote de la Mancha, 2005. So the Mexican government really does want you to know that this coin is a fan art reference to Don Quixote. So yeah, you can see just how popular this character is. That even as late as 2005, they're minting coins. They're minting coins with the feet that feature Don Quixote. So that's the power of a good book. That like it's a 400-year-old book that still gets fan arts made about him. This one is 1914 Don Quixote by Amadeo de Souza, and it's like a nice, bubbly, expressionist cubist type of painting of Don Quixote with like the horse drinking water, and then he has his spear and him looking very despondent by himself. And just a lot of nice twisting colors and stuff. It's a nice fan art. This one is a statue of Don Quixote and his squad and Sancho Panza, 1929, and it's by Lorenzo Cular Valera and Federico Cular Valera. I think that one's in Madrid, Spain. And then, just like we're now moving out from like the painting realm to like sculptures and stuff. Just a very big, impressive artwork of Don Quixote going on one of his rants with like Sancho Panza looking very confused and his master very soon. It's like, oh, he's like, for real. So like, oh, here goes my master going on a random rant. This one is 1930, row one, wheel right, and it's Don Quixote and Mario Tormes at the end. And over here, you start seeing the illusion of the prank she's gonna play on him because she's gonna end up tying his hand to a rope, and then he's gonna spend the entire night hanging like that, just stuck there in a very uncomfortable situation. But it's just basically the build up to it. She being all dancing in distress, complaining and whining, and then she ties his hand to a wall. A very mean spirited prank. But then again, that was just the fashion of the day where everyone was bored out of their minds. So some people were dressing up as knight and going pretend to as knight, while other people were having a laugh out of those they consider insane by playing pranks on them. This one is 1940, Hans Mueller, Don Quixote as a prisoner. And it's basically this thing happened at like the end of Around the end of book one, where they where they're trying to get him to go back home and like relax in bed and all that stuff because he's too old to like be running around as a knight armor. They're thinking that his adventures in book one was just him having what modern people call a senior moment or something. But then again, like Don Quixote is like 40, so you know. And just like a lot of well wishers being like the absolute word instead of supporting Don Quixote's cosplay passion. They were just being like, oh, you gotta like go back home and relax, and you gotta stop reading all those night books. They're making you act crazy. This one is 1951 Don Quixote of the Forest of Germain, of the Forest by Germain Richter, and it's a very see a skinny knight with a spear. That's your Don Quixote right then and there. This one is 1855 Don Quixote by Pablo Picasso, and it's a very scribbled fine art drawing with a skinny knight up here and Sancho Panza with the donkey here, and in the background you can kind of see the windmill. So we know that he's very, like over here, here's a little windmill that he's about to attack and stuff. This one is 1957, Salvador Dali's Don Quixote. And Salvador Dali, was another one of those painters that did like Gustave Dore. He did a lot of like Don Quixote fan arts, but more specifically, he did them in his fancy surrealist style. Like in the foreground, you see like a giant Don Quixote, and then in the background, Sancho Panza, all small and then little. And he took care to show Rocinante as a horse that was as skinny as his rider, which is something that like a lot of people forget when they're drawing Don Quixote fan arts, that the horse is a very skinny old horse as well. So then it's just a skinny old dude going with his skinny old horse, having just going out to like have a blast instead of running away and like the farm and him finally decided to live the adventurous life that he thought he always wanted to live and stuff. You're never too old to like go out and have fun. At least that's the Don Quixote way of seeing the world. This one is in 1961, Octavio Campo, The Friendship of Don Quixote. And then over here, Don Quixote's face being composed by like two fellows over here, and then Sancho Panza, Don Quixote, and then in the background you see the twisting form of Dulcinea, and then over here like the horses and the donkey being formed there, and him seeing the idealized version of the woman that he had a crush on, and which he idealized as Dulcinea, and of course you can't draw Don Quixote painting fan art without showing the windmill, which was one of his most infamous stunts. He also tried to fight legit a lion, but he got lucky that the lion just ignored him. But yeah, that was a real flesh and blood lion. This Scribble Scrabble is 1963, and it's apparently Don Quixote by it's apparently a Don Quixote painting, but I don't see it. So, and it's by Hans Hoffman. He says it's Don Quixote, and so we just gotta go with it. Moving along. This one is 1970. Scott Guastafon, and it's Don Quixote about to attack the windmill, and over here in the foreground you also see by the signature you also see the sheep that are also his soon to become vet, that are also another thing that he attacked as well. You know, just him pillaging the country life, and it's shown very well in like the foreground, like Sancho Panza being like, what the hell you going on about this time? And even the horse and donkey exchanging looks, being like, our crazy masters, or the donkey being like, wow, I pity what's about to happen to you, skinny horse, because your master's a lunatic. And then it's just them about to attack, just him telling him why he's gonna go attack that windmill. This one is 2010 by Marcel Pajot, and it's Dreams of Fame of Don Quixote. So then here's he reading all of his fancy night books while daydreaming about his beautiful Dulcinea and Amadis de Gaula, like going about his thing. Like it's funny because like Don Quixote referenced a bunch of knights and stuff, but Don Quixote became more famous than the night he was than all of the nights he was pirating. I mean, you say Amadis de Gaula and stuff, and then you be like, who? But you say Don Quixote, and you know what that's about. This one is Don Quixote by Sirma Wojciech. And then over here you see the windmills as he sees them as a bunch of like giant, in the form of a bunch of giants. And it's just a fun fan of Don Quixote I saw. And that's the last painting that I wanted to show you that. No, just seeing how many people are like obsessed with like Don Quixote and stuff since it was published in like the 400 years ago. Bye bye and God bless.